everyone, welcome back. I'm Melissa Pineda, and today I will be discussing the book Reflections on the Revolution in France by Edmund Burke. So, this book was first published in 1790 as a pamphlet, and it was published a year after the French Revolution began. So, Edmund Burke was born in Ireland in 1729 and he died in England in 1797. So, he died 2 years before the conclusion of the French Revolution. That happened in 1799 when Napoleon seized power after his bloodless coup and declared himself first consul. So that was the end of the French Revolution, beginning of the Napoleonic era. So unfortunately, Edmund Burke didn't get to see how it ended, but he did live through the majority and he saw the worst parts of the French Revolution. And he had some very strong feelings on it. He published this only a year after it began. So yes, I'm just going to say a few words more about him and then we can dive right into his reflections. So, he was a member of Parliament in the House of Commons in Great Britain. He was a British statesman and political thinker, and he promoted conservatism in opposition to the French Revolution. So, Burke is often considered the founding father of modern democratic conservative thought. The idea that you can slowly become better, like this gradual idea, you don't have to have a revolution in order to accomplish what you want to have accomplished. So we can get there gradually, that idea, the idea of progressive conservatism. In this book, Burke discusses the course of the revolution and the important political players. He argues that the idea of tearing everything down completely devalued tradition, which he thought was very important, destroyed all like values, anything that society had built up to that point, material, spiritual resources. He just thought that that was a complete waste, essentially. The revolution officially started in France on June 17th, 1789, with the creation of the National Assembly by the Third Estate. So there were three estates in France at this time. The first estate was the clergy, the second estate was the nobility, and the third estate were the commons. So everyone else, the peasants and the bourgeoisie or the middle class. So this is the estate that created the National Assembly, and they're the ones that led the French Revolution. This third estate or the National Assembly is who Edmund Burke is talking about when he says that the changes they made government wise could have been accomplished without a revolution. So that's what he's arguing, which is pretty significant. He's saying it's basically like for nothing. You didn't have to do that to accomplish what you wanted to accomplish. And he's saying this because in his opinion, almost every single one of the regulations made were either in the royal session of the king, so that was on June 23rd, 1789, or at the meeting of the estates the month before. It was at the session of the king on June 23rd, 1789, where King Louis XVI rejected the idea of the National Assembly. But he did compromise, and he said that all three estates could debate in common the issues and form the body of representatives of the nation, which basically accepted some of what the Third Estate wanted. So Burke is saying, you were going to get there. You're going to get what you wanted. It was going in the right direction, and a revolution was not necessary. Burke criticizes the National Assembly for not having any checks and balances on their power. So here they were arguing, the king was a tyrant, but just wanting to replace him with themselves, no checks and balances again, which is something that they were essentially, opposed to, but that they weren't going to make themselves held accountable to anyone else. Burke says that King Louis XVI was trying to keep the structure and the order of the state, which he considered very important, again, preserving tradition. And of course, 2 years after this was published, in 1792, King Louis XVI was executed. He was guillotined, as was his wife, the Queen. And it's sad, as an aside, so they had four kids, I believe. One died in infancy. A son died when he was just a child. And then they had two children left at the time that both of them were executed. And they both remained in prison. The son ended up dying not long after that. there was some mistreatment in prison. He had also been forced to lie about his mother, saying that there was like some sexual abuse, and yeah, it's just a sad story. And then the daughter was in prison for quite a long time, and then eventually was released, and I believe went to Austria, which is where her mother was from. Burke claims that the improvements of the National Assembly were superficial, but that its errors were fundamental. So he instead wishes his countrymen to follow the British example of their constitution and take models from them in terms of government. He says that it emphasizes continuity, respects tradition, and a hierarchy of rank and property. So they have an invaluable treasure, he claims, and he talks about civil review, how it's patriotic and free. And essentially, the takeaway is alteration is fine, but when you change it, it should be to preserve. So I hope you have enjoyed this review of Edmund Burke's Reflections on the French Revolution. It's a great read. It's a classic. I hope you guys pick it up. I hope you enjoy it. If you have any comments, questions, please share.